Welcome everyone, it's Zia here. I had a lovely time in August visiting my mom and family and staying at my mom's cottage in New Brunswick, and I just thought I'd start this episode with a little bit of footage from one very magical evening when my sister and I were on the beach. Happy to share. We can all use a few moments of peace here and there, especially these days. So please enjoy, and then we'll turn us over to Peter for the latest update. And I'm just sending all my love.
To From Shambles to Shambhala. We're in this beautiful spot today in the Virgo effigy, as we now are fully into the sun sign of Virgo. We've moved through the energy of Leo, and I just want to reflect back on that a little bit because there was a really interesting event that took place, which was to do with Venus. And Venus turned retrograde on July 22nd, the feast day of Mary Magdalene. So it brought in this beautiful, strong, feminine energy. And Venus retrograde is all about re-evaluating what's taken place over the last 8 years. And it is to do with our values, what really matters to us, our relationships and our money. Then the next day, the sun moved into Leo on July 23rd. So now Venus is moving backwards through Leo and the sun is moving forward. And then on August the 13th, they came into what's called an inferior conjunction. This is really neat. What happens is Venus moves between the Earth and the Sun. So I'm sure most of you will have seen Venus shining brightly in the western sky at night in the last few months. And then just before the 13th, she disappears. She's no longer visible to us because she's in the radiance of the Sun. The evolutionary astrologers would say that she goes into the underworld, that she gets lost and dies. And what is happening is she is dying to her old way of being, particularly over this last 8-year period, and I'll explain why in a moment. Then she has this blast of sunlight on that conjunction, so now she gets upgraded to a high frequency. She continues going backwards, the sun now moves forward, and then there's a turning point when Venus begins to move forward again. Now the reason it's an 8-year cycle is Venus does this lovely dance where she starts off with Leo, the Sun and Venus together, and then over an 8-year period she defines a perfect 5-pointed star by moving into conjunctions with the Sun in 5 different sun sign constellations till she comes back to Leo in 8 years' time. So this is the Venus cycle. And the 5 and the 8 are part of the Fibonacci series, and of course the 5-pointed star is another element of the feminine. So then when she returns, magically she returns on the eastern horizon just before sunrise in the morning. So she goes from being the evening star in the west to being the morning star in the east. So this is the completion of the 8-year cycle, and now she returns to begin a brand new 8-year cycle. So I'm going to suggest to you that it's a really good time now to look back over this last 8 years, see what you feel really valued by and what you want to retrain, but also to let go of whatever is holding you back to allow you to move into your future self. And then when she returns in the next few days or the early days of September, then we set the new intentions for ourselves for the next 8 years. She then will re-emerge in the morning above the sun in the early morning sky. And then on the 14th, 15th of September, we have the new moon in Virgo. Virgo is all about the details, and following on from Leo, whatever creative ideas that you had, this is now the perfect time to put them into form, make them real. But before we get there, we have to talk briefly about the second full moon in August, another supermoon. It's very unusual to have two supermoons in the same month. The second one is called a blue moon. That was on August the 30th, and by the time you see this, it's already probably passed, but it stays with us because we've got Saturn and the moon conjunct together in Pisces, and Neptune is also in Pisces. So this Pisces energy is going to continue. And the Pisces energy is all about our connection to spirit, to the oneness, to the all that is, to consciousness. But it can also be the delusion, the deception. And so when you have the full moon moving through Pisces, it's a highly sensitized time for all of us. It's a water sign, and it's a very, very sensitive sign. So we want to marry together that upper level consciousness connection through Pisces with the earth energy of Virgo, so we make our dreams and our love of life and our connection to spirit into reality. There's so much going on in the world today that is quite scary, and what we are being called to do is to hold to the highest possible frequency that we can, to connect to the oneness and not allow ourselves to be distracted by what is going on in the 3D world. We are on the verge of making the transition into the 5D, and we don't want to be pulled away from that opportunity by all that's going on in the world, because that is the intention. So really stay connected to Mother Earth, to nature, to your higher self, to your own inner world. Right now, most of the planets are in retrograde motion, so this is not the time to be taking action. This is the time to be doing the inner work and planning for what is to come next. And then after the new moon in Virgo, Mercury will also turn direct the next day. We can then really begin to start putting things into action. So this is very much a time of reflection, of anchoring the energies in through the details. Consolidating is probably a good word of what you may have already thought of doing back in the sign of Leo. And I do want to mention that there is a brand new Gene Key transmission being offered for 3 months, beginning on September the 19th, going through to December the 19th. And it is the first online retreat of the Dream Arc. The Dream Arc is the aspect of the Gene Keys where each Gene Key has associated with it 3 creatures. The shadow is a creepy crawly, a snake, a spider, a reptile, a fish. The gifts are all the mammals, and the cities are all birds. And what the Dream Arc does, it gives you the opportunity to gather your animal tribe around you on all 3 levels. And so you begin to dream these animals into form, into your life. Some of them will show up in form, in physical reality. Some you will see in a movie or on a label on something, and others will present themselves through the Dream Arc itself. We have been involved in diving into it at the very beginning, and it's quite remarkable the synchronicities that show up to show you some of the creatures that you are to be working with in your future. And the ultimate end of the Dream Arc is that you choose your kin. You choose the animal or the bird or the creature that is going to be with you. It's going to be part of you for the rest of your life. And you create a circle of 12 around you of these creatures, and it really opens us up to spirit, to the nature, and to the higher realms that we can now begin to navigate through. And it's really encouraging us to open up to our own intuitive self through our feminine principle within, but also in the dream time. So I encourage you to take a look at that. It is on the genekeys.com website. It's on the front page at the moment for this online retreat. whether you choose to do it or not, I do encourage you to just really pay attention to the creatures that do show up in your life anyway, because they are here to show us. We just had a dragonfly fly around my feet just as I said that, and the dragonfly has a very specific meaning in the gene keys. It's the Dragonfly's Dream. It's the 55th gene key of the new age of Aquarius, which gives me the chance to say actually what's been happening in this last period of time, because most of us have been really deeply challenged. We've been pushed to our limit by what's been going on in our lives. And when Richard talks about the Dragonfly's Dream, he talks about the dragonfly as a nymph that lives under the water, and at the appointed time, or the appropriate time, it climbs up the stalk of a leaf in the water. And now what happens is the light from the sun begins to work through the water inside the nymph's body, and all this pressure gets built up until it bursts out in an explosion of light and becomes the dragonfly's wings unfurling and sets it free. So we have been squeezed, we have been pressured from above, from the solar ejections coming out through the sun, through the Schumann resonance peaking up to higher values. So we are being compressed into our diamond self so that we can emerge into this higher frequency, this fifth dimensional realm in which we're going to live. So all the challenges that we've faced in the last few months, all the way back for 8 years, even going all the way back to early childhood, this is the time to let them go and set yourself free and really begin to have a wonderful game with yourself in the world, in your dream arc, with your connection to the creatures, and in particular to Mother Earth herself. She's guiding this process, so trust her at the highest level and maintain the highest frequency that you can for this month. Right at the end of the month, 29th of August, we get the next full moon in Aries, and that should be a time when we can really start our energetic movement into the new Earth energies as we move forward. So I wish you well on your journeys and have a great month.